Good evening, everybody, and happy Friday. We are doing another wonderful Cook Along Live. So I ran a poll on Facebook, Instagram. Unfortunately, I don't know how to do that on YouTube, so I wasn't able to do it there. And I asked you guys, what did you want me to cook this week? I happened to find a nice little friend here, Mr. Krabby. And when I found him, I went and decided to go and look for some other things like shrimp and mussels and scallops. I was able to find all of those things as well and picked them all up and was just going to make cioppino for myself. And my sister came up with the awesome idea. She's like, well, why don't you do cioppino for cook-along? And I'd already advertised the risotto. So I was kind of like, well, I already said I was going to be doing risotto. That's kind of weird to like say, hey, I'm going to do risotto and then swap it out. But I figured I'd ask y'all and see what you guys all wanted. And on Facebook, it was actually 50-50. I had 8 people who wanted risotto, and I had 8 people who wanted to do cioppino. So that was a draw. And on Instagram, I had like 13 or 14 people who wanted me to do cioppino, and I had 3 people who wanted me to do risotto. So technically, the cioppino won. That being said, risotto is actually not that difficult to make. So I figured what I would do is focus on the cioppino, and then at the same time, we'll make some risotto as well. And we'll kind of blend the two and make a cioppino-style risotto. So a little bit of a mix of both worlds, and I know some purists are going to say, why would you ever do that? That's terrible. That's a terrible, terrible idea. You can have seafood risotto. It's fine. So why can't you have cioppino-style risotto? I think it sounds good. So we're going to see what happens. This is going to be my first time making risotto from scratch. So if I mess up, you're going to see it. It's going to be a lot of fun. Let me get my knives. So when we look at risotto and we look at cioppino, we kind of want to think about what the timing is going to be between the two. The cioppino is going to be made, you're basically going to be making a stew, and while that stew is kind of cooking, you have time to go and make the risotto. The risotto actually is literally just rice, and then you're just stirring it and adding a ladleful of stock to it, vegetable stock, beef stock, chicken stock, whatever kind of stock you want. And let me get this boiling under control over here. Just want this to be a simmer. I'm using chicken stock tonight, and that's what I've got over here in the corner behind the chat window, so you actually can't see me over here. But I've got chicken stock over on my burner because I don't have enough induction cooktops on my countertop to be able to also have a little bit of stock going. But really what you're doing is you're keeping the stock warm so that when you add it to the pan, it's not cooling things down and then reheating them and cooling them and reheating them. So what we're going to do is we're going to get the cioppino started first. We're going to get the tomato base simmering and going. That's got to kind of sit there and go and meld all the flavors together for about a half hour. And while we're letting that get together, we're going to get our risotto going as well. We're also going to clean some of our seafood, such as the crab, shrimp, and scallops. And we're going to get all of that kind of going together. So let's get started. This is the fun part. Generally speaking, when you're putting together any kind of a base or a stock or anything like that, what you're going to be doing, yeah, Michael, it's about 2 pounds, 2.5 pounds, I think. Not huge, but not tiny. And unfortunately, not fresh. It is previously frozen. I wasn't able to find fresh crab. So at some point later this year, I'm sure, maybe, I'm not sure if they're socially isolating or not, but I'm sure we'll get some crab going. Once again this week, we've got the 2 camera angles, so I will be switching things around as we go, and I'll show you kind of what's going on in the pots while I'm doing that. But what we're going to do is we're going to get our stock going. Generally speaking, what you're going to want to do is go to like medium heat, and this is pretty true for anything that you're going to be doing that has any kind of a stock or a base. You're going to get your onions and your garlic going first. These things take a little bit longer to kind of cook and soften, and they're also going to flavor the oil that you have in the pan. So what I'm going to do is quickly kind of chop through this onion. And what I'm doing is I'm using a half an onion, or I guess like 3/4 of an onion, and also a bulb of fennel. That's going to give me some nice, very light notes of licorice. You don't really need to take this and chop it super, super down. They don't need to be tiny, tiny pieces. but you do want it chopped up. I'm going to get this going. I'm going to a little bit of oil in here. And I'm going to use my handy dandy dough scraper. And I don't know if you guys can hear the sizzling, but that's what you want. You definitely want to hear some sizzling when you put stuff into a pan or a pot. That means that it's cooking. There we go. And while that's kind of going, I'm going to get my fennel going. I just want to chop this top off. I'm going to save that for stock. So I'm going to put this over here. I'm going to chop the bottom off because, as we can see, it's a little bit dirty. Even after scrubbing it, I'm just going to get rid of that. We're going to half this right down the long side like that. And then I'm just going to slice this thinly. And when you're cutting things, always make sure that you have your hand in a claw like this. Actually, you can turn your body sideways. It makes it a little bit easier to do this kind of a thing. And you're not pushing straight down, you're actually moving it forward. So as you're going down, you're going forward, and you're making almost like a little diagonal forward motion, and your knife will go right through whatever. If you put your knife up against your knuckles like this, it's very, very difficult to cut yourself unless you start moving your fingers forward. So this is something you don't want to do. And let me get this oil out of the way. But if you keep everything kind of back like this, very, very hard to cut yourself. We're going to put our onions and our fennel in first, because it's going to take a little bit longer to kind of cook and soften. We don't want to get very much color on this, so I just have this at like a medium heat. If you're using an induction hot plate like I am, I've got mine set to 315 degrees, and that's probably plenty. And then while we're waiting for that, I'm going to come over here and grab a clove of garlic. Actually going to grab a head of garlic and then break it apart. Pour some cloves. How's everybody else's week going? You guys having a good time? Enjoying this quarantine? Enjoying the shelter at home time that we've got? Or are you guys getting bored of this? Are you guys pretty much over it, ready to go do some more fun things? I'm actually not doing too bad. Definitely eating a lot of stuff, which is sad, but you know, can't complain. Don't know if you just heard the ambulance go by, but somebody having some issues. I hope that they're okay. So the quickest way to peel garlic is just to very lightly kind of smash it. You don't even really have to smash it. I mean, all you're doing is kind of loosening the skin off of the garlic. One last thing that I need is going to be a spatula. I'm just going to keep these guys kind of moving around over here. Switch to this. You guys can kind of see what's going on in the pot. Kind of hard to see the cutting board from where I'm at since I've got this pan over here, but that's okay. I'm basically just going to take the garlic and smash it all the way down, as much as I can, and then I'm going to chop it from there. Just chop this up. We're not going to pulverize it. We just want this kind of like in little bits. Something like that. Hey, Hannah, how's it going? This pot, that's a great question. I'm not sure exactly how many quarts that is. It's just a crock pot, so it's whatever, like a standard. It's probably 8 quarts. 6 to 8 quarts is what I would say. Might actually be a little bit small for what we're doing today, but it's the only thing that I have that does induction. So we're just going to kind of go with it. I'm going to put that garlic right into the pot. Get this stirred up. Now you'll notice that I'm not cooking very high. Like these are kind of simmering, they're softening, but that's all I really want. I do not want these to burn, so I'm not cooking these on a super high heat. If they get brown, yeah, that's all right. But I don't want them to I'm not trying to get caramelization on any of this stuff. I just want this to kind of like sweat and soften and get smaller in size. That's really what I'm going for here. Thanks, Jesse. Yeah, I got my iPhone here as my kind of like look down camera. So if anybody texts me, I actually can't read my text messages while I'm doing this cooking. And then I got the front camera so that I can, you know, discuss stuff when we're actually tired of looking at this stuff over here. So that's cool. We got the garlic and everything in there. We're going to add a little bit of salt, and we're going to add a little bit of pepper. And remember, you're going to be adding a lot of tomato stuff to this, so you can actually kind of over-season at this point. You don't want to go crazy, but it's okay to add a little bit too much. And while we're doing that, we will come over here and add some pepper as well. Now, some people like to turn the bottom, I like to turn the top, and you can actually do both if you want. It's totally up to you. Again, a little bit of over-seasoning because I know that we're going to be adding a ton of stuff to this pot. Getting this all nice and soft. Very cool. Put that right there. And come back to here. So one of the other things that I'm drinking tonight is a glass of white wine. This is the wine that I'm going to be using for our cioppino and our risotto. Never cook with a wine that you wouldn't drink. Never buy table wine. That stuff is garbage. It's essentially vinegar that they've bottled, and they call it table wine. I mean, this was like an $8 bottle of wine. I think this was an $11 bottle of wine, but it's fine. It's a great Sauvignon Blanc, nice dry white wine for cioppino and for risotto. And I'm just going to keep drinking this so that my voice doesn't get all dry and scratchy. That is good. So since this is the first time that I'm doing cioppino, I am actually referring to some instructions over here. Not going directions 100%. I'm kind of adding my own spin to it. But the next thing that we're going to do is tomato paste. You can find it in a tube like this. Get it in a tube like this. These last a lot longer than those little cans that you open up. We're going to want about a quarter cup of this stuff. Very concentrated tomato flavor. My onions and fennel and garlic are softening. They're starting to get a little bit brown around the edges. Go ahead and switch to that camera real quick. I'm literally just going to put in about a quarter cup of this. And what this does is it actually, if you ever made your own coffee, and you know how you kind of bloom your coffee, like you pour a little bit of water on it if you're doing like a pour over, and you let that sit for a couple of minutes, and then it blooms, it develops its flavor. That's what you're doing with the heat and the tomato here. It kind of burns down the acidity and makes it more sugary and more tomatoey. It makes the flavor a lot richer. So this is what you're doing when you're doing something like this where you're adding the tomato paste. I do this when I'm also making my tacos. If I'm cooking tacos and I put the seasoning in the taco pan with all the meat and stuff, I usually put that in dry, let it sit for about a minute or two. Then I'll add the water and let the water kind of moisten it and get it all red. What that does is it opens up the flavor of all the spices and actually makes your tacos more flavorful. And yes, this onion garlic smell is incredible. The onion garlic and the fennel is very, very mild. It is a very slight licorice flavor, but it's not to the point where you're getting annoyed because it's so, like, it doesn't smell like licorice. It's just got a light little note and it's so good. Shift my phone a bit towards the cutting board. Let me see if I can do that. Shoop, shoop, shoop. I will move over here and we'll do that. How does that work for you? Is that a good angle? Let's see. If I do something like that, you should still have the chat and the cutting board and everything. We do this. How is this for an angle? Does this work for you? You got both pans and the cutting board, so we're good. Awesome. And I've got my cloth towels now, so I'm not using paper towels anymore. These things are amazing. You can buy them for, it's 30 bucks. It's actually $29.99 for a pack of 30. Very, very affordable on Amazon.com. So, 100%. Nice, Campbell, yes. the alcohol is good. Sweet. So we've got our tomatoes and everything in there, kind of blooming, kind of opening up. Oh my God, the smell is incredible. And everything is nice and soft, but nothing is burned and nothing is black. Getting a little bit of caramelization, which is fine, but you don't want anything to really, really like burn. So now what's going to happen is there are some bits kind of stuck to the bottom. We're actually going to now use our wine for, you know, what it's meant for. I'm just pouring about a cup of wine. And what's going to happen is the acid from the wine is actually going to loosen all of the little bits that are stuck to the bottom of the pan. And you'll notice that this is going to be bubbling quite a bit. And all of that stuff on the bottom there is loosening. So when I start scraping, all of that flavor is going into the wine. The alcohol is burning off. And you're just getting the dry notes from the wine and all of the flavor from the bottom of the pan. You'll notice that this sauce is now like a rich, almost mahogany color. I guess in the camera it almost looks orange, but it's really not. It looks really, really nice in person. That's the problem with cameras. We're just going to let that simmer for a little while the wine reduces. I'm actually going to turn down the temperature just a little bit because I want this to be a little bit of a simmer. And I'm going to turn on this guy right here. And what we're going to do, we're going to turn this guy up. I want this to get super hot because at this point I want to actually sear my scallops. So I've got a bunch of base scallops. Unfortunately, everything that I'm using tonight is previously frozen, but that's fine because a lot of the previously frozen scallops and shrimp and stuff, what they do is they actually catch it and then immediately toss it into a quick freezer. And as long as you thaw it out in a little bowl of water, like so, they thaw out, and it doesn't damage them as much as if you like put them in the microwave, which you're not really supposed to do, or do anything else to kind of like thaw them out. Now, one of the things with these, we went over this in a previous video, where we really want these guys to be super, super dry before we put them into the pan, so that we get a nice sear on them. So what I'm going to do is grab a clean towel and just very lightly dry these guys off. I'm really not pushing very hard on them. I'm just making sure that the towel is in contact with all sides and getting them as dry as I can. These guys are still a little bit frozen on the tops. I'm just scraping off some of that ice if I find it. Not all of them are. But you'll see that these guys are nice and plump. And they're going to taste super good in the risotto. Now this is reducing. I'm actually going to turn down the heat quite a bit and get this at a very nice simmer because now I need to buy myself some time. Get these guys good. My pan here is getting super hot. No, I didn't just stick my hand in the pan. I brought it down about 1 millimeter above the pan so I can feel how hot it's getting. I know I'm an amateur chef, but I'm not that much of an amateur. Go ahead and switch this over here. And this is really awesome because you guys are really seeing me kind of flying by the seat of my pants because I got a lot going on. Almost dropped a scallop. But cooking is really about just kind of trying to manage everything that's going on. You're just kind of thinking about what's happening. Over here, I've got this reducing. Looks really good. I got my pan over here searing. You can see it's starting to smoke. I've got 2 scallops left to kind of dry off. So what I'm going to do is get the rest of them searing. A little bit of oil in the pan. We're not cooking the scallops. We're just getting a good color on there. And before we put them in there, here's my salt. We're going to season the tops. Flip them and season the bottoms real quick. You want to do this right before you put them in the pan because it is going to start drying out more moisture. And my wine is starting to dry out. I'm actually just going to add a little bit more. This is how you buy yourself time. A little bit more wine. Let that cook off again. And these guys, you can notice that this is really, really warm. And as I'm adding these scallops into the pan, they are sizzling. So after you've got these guys in the pan like this, you can go ahead and turn the temperature down a little bit. That way you sear them, but you don't burn them. I'm going to dry off my cutting board over here. Very cool. Let's go ahead and stir some of this wine. We're doing good. Got our scallop searing. We got our wine cooking off. Second round of wine cooking off. Set you right there. I'll let those guys sear for just a bit. Now I've got a can of tomatoes. These are just diced tomatoes. These are going to be going in here. I'm going to let this cook off just a little bit more. Also got a red bell pepper here. I'm going to cut this in and it's going to go into the cioppino. And I'm going to show you the real quick way to cut a red bell pepper. Cut off the top. Cut off the bottom. I'm actually going to chop that up as well. I'm going to cut straight down like so. Now what I'm going to do is cut down and then just unroll the pepper like this and cut flat. Check that out. All my seeds are out. This is my only waste. I can actually just do that and just pop the stem off, really. Toss the stem. Look at this. My bell pepper is ready to chop. I can just go doop, doop, doop. You'll notice I am clawing my fingers so that I'm not cutting myself. And I'm just cutting through the bell pepper. Short work of that. I'm going to turn this back up because for some reason I dropped it a little too low. Get these guys all cubed up as well. Choppity chop. Very cool. Set the knife up there. Get our bell peppers in the pan. Or I guess the Dutch oven, if you want to call it that. Good. And tomatoes in. I get this turned up a little bit. I can move this over to my recycling side. Next thing for the cioppino is going to be some parsley. I want about a quarter cup, so I'm just going to rip it off of the stalk. This way I get the leaves and none of the stems, or, you know, a little bit of the stems. Give this a quick chop through. Like so. And there we are. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to kind of check my scallops. See how they look. I'm going to grab the first one that I put in because this is going to be the most done one. Nope, nowhere near done, so I'm going to leave them there for a second. I also need a bay leaf for my cioppino base. Get a nice large bay leaf, toss you in. Get this all mixed together. Now the cool thing about the tomatoes is they're actually going to break down and become more liquidy and get super tasty. Just one bay leaf, we're good. Let's check this guy. Nope, still not quite done. I'm going to check the second one just to make sure. Nope, still not done. They were still a little bit too wet, so what's happening is it's hard to get a sear on them. Give them a little bit of a press. And and I need a little bit of time, so I will be right back. One of the benefits to having your own garden is you can pick your own herbs whenever you want. I'm gonna go ahead and give these a quick rinse, and they're gonna go into the cioppino. There we go, and I'm just gonna leave them on the stems because then I'm gonna pull them out at the end. Add the flavor, and then move along. And there we go. That is looking amazing. Let's look at you guys. Perfect, we got our sear going now, and I'm just gonna go around in the order that I put them in and flip them. And really what we're doing here with the searing is we're just developing flavor on the scallops. Give them a little bit of a pat down. I'm going to remove those to a plate in just a second. So I've also got a nice little box of seafood stock. This is all going to go into the cioppino pan here. Just like so. And then I'm going to turn this on high and let it kind of come up to a simmer, and we're going to get those going. Awesome, so I need a plate for those. Get our scallops out of the pan. They are more or less cooked through. We're going to toss them in right at the very end of the cioppino just to kind of re-warm themselves. I'm going to put them over here for now. Get some of that scraped off. And all this is going to do is add flavor to our risotto, which is why I have them in the same pan. There we go. This is going to take a sec to kind of come up to temperature. Set you right there. And what we're going to do is just go ahead and get started with our risotto. So risotto is actually really, really easy. Makes it a little more complicated when you're doing like 3 things at once, but that's all good. What we're going to do is take 3 ribs of celery, cut off the tops. We're going to cut off the huge parts of the bottoms. And we're just going to do this. And cut right through the entire set of stalks. Very awesome. I'm also going to turn this down to, yeah, let's say 360. That's fine. Like a medium-high heat. I got my celery here. We're going to do red onion. I was looking for shallots today. Couldn't find any. So I'm going to cut this actually in half like this. Give myself about a shallot's worth of red onion. I want this diced, so I'm just going to kind of cut through like this. And spin it sideways. It doesn't have to be perfect. That's good. Put that over there. Here we are. What we're going to do is we're just going to leave the oil that's in there and get our onions going. What we're doing is softening the onions first. Celery doesn't take quite as long. It's a more delicate vegetable. So when we put the celery in, it's going to soften a lot quicker. All we're trying to do here is get the onions to about where we're going to want it, so that when we add the celery, they're both about the same texture at the same time. And that's all good. Add a little bit of salt to this. This is a smaller dish, so I'm not going to add as much salt, but I am going to add a little bit and a little bit of pepper. There we go. Anybody have any cool plans for the weekend? Anything going on? What's good in your lives? Now I can take a break and actually kind of sit here and read what you said and converse. All of this was a lot of work, all right up front. We're going to get to the point where it's just kind of sitting around waiting. It's not a bad wine. But what do we got going on, people? Awesome, Hannah. Have a great night. It was good to see you. Great to see you on the stream. Yeah, my week's been pretty good, Felicia. I'm going all the way back up to the beginning. I know you guys have been talking for a while here, but I have not been able to take a look up yet. Very cool, very cool. Yes, it is not about the size of your crab, Jesse. You're right. Thanks, Chris. I'm glad you enjoy them, man. And Hannah just left, so that's cool. Yeah, Nick, it is Hell's Kitchen. Hopefully I don't scream that it's raw too often tonight. Because seafood, when it's raw, well, you know what? I guess if you go get sushi, that's not bad. But the pre-frozen stuff that I'm working with, you probably don't want it raw. I'm going to go ahead and give this a stir just to break up anything that might be sticking to the bottom. Oh my goodness! Which Phantom of the Opera, Felicia? Is it the 25th anniversary or is it one of the older ones? Because the 25th anniversary was really good, but some of the other ones are also really cool. Yes, Campbell, it is definitely time to get hungry. It smells super, super good in my kitchen right now. I've actually flown over Bellingham, Jesse, when I went up to do a survival course with for aviation. We were in the Channel, or I'm sorry, not the Channel Island, the San Juan Islands, which is basically right just to the west of Bellingham. So we were flying over Bellingham, flew up into Canada, and all kinds of fun stuff. It was good. Hey, Jenny, how's it going? And Jess, secret girlfriend, how's it going? And Ellie, nice to see you. Thank you, Annika. I've got 30 of them, and they're fantastic. Shelly, by all means, once this is over, I'm going to have a huge cook-off for everybody. Maybe we'll do like a crab feed or something. All right, so we can see that this is boiling. I'm actually going to turn down the temperature a little bit and just get it to a simmer. The problem when it's boiling is you're actually burning off too much of the moisture. When you have it at a simmer, you're melding the flavors together, but you're not evaporating a bunch of stuff. There is some evaporation going. You are thickening it up a little bit, but it's not like pushing, steam. Let's switch over to the other camera. You're not pushing all this steam up into, the atmosphere or whatever. When you have it at a nice little gentle simmer, you're cooking everything together and you're getting the flavors all combined, but you're not losing as much moisture. You can also put a lid on this, and I think that's what I'm going to be doing once I get the clams in here. But right now, I do want it to evaporate a little bit, but just not as much as what it's doing. So the temperature on this is going to be like 250-ish, 245. And this is going to come down a little bit. It's going to start bubbling a little bit more gently. I'm probably going to have to adjust it because there's a lot of stuff in this pot. But I just wanted it like a gentle bubble like this. And even better would be if it's just kind of like, one bubble or two bubbles at a time. And I've talked too much, so I'm going to get my celery in here. Get this cooking a little bit. And I got a little bit of a pepper in there, but that's all fine. We're all going to be eating it all together, so it doesn't matter. Get these guys kind of stirred together. You can see that some of my onions are getting a little bit toasty. Nothing's burned yet. And we're also going to be deglazing this pan with wine. So any of the bits that are kind of like stuck to the pan, burning, I'm sorry, toasting to the pan, we're going to be deglazing that. So we're going to get all of that up, and all that flavor is going to be in the pan, which is how you want it. Turn this down just a little bit more, get it just to a simmer. Perfect. Yes, cast iron skillets are amazing. I know, I should get some music. I need to find something that's not copyright. You know, it's royalty free. If I can find some royalty free music, I'm definitely going to be using it. The smell-o-vision would make your mouth water. Dad, I can probably cook like, I mean, you could probably have 8 or 9 people over for this. This is going to be feeding me for probably the rest of the week. Hey, Stephanie, how's it going? Long time no see. Good to see you. Good to see you in here. Awesome. Zoom chats are fun, Felicia. I love those. Thank you, Stephanie. Sweet, sweet. So Jenny, sherry is a wine. It's just a sweet wine. So if you're going to be doing something that requires sweet wine, sherry will work. Chicken marsala, well, you're going to want to use a marsala wine for that. But anything that requires a wine that's like a more sweet kind of complex wine, you're going to be using sherry. Or you can just use like a nice sweet Pinot or something like that. Yes, you can use those interchangeably. When we're talking about risotto and cioppino, these kind of call for a dry wine. So if you throw in sherry, it's going to throw the flavor off. It's going to be really weird. Also, there are some cioppinos that call for red wine. I don't think they taste as good, to be honest with you. So we're doing good over here. I'm going to go ahead and deglaze this with some wine. Turn up the heat a little bit and get some sizzle. And you'll notice between me drinking and what's going in the pan, I'm almost done with this bottle, which is how you want it when you're cooking. So here we are. That's looking good. Get this stirred, and we're going to let this kind of cook off a little bit. Just a little bit, and then we're going to add our rice. And what the rice is going to do is it's going to actually absorb the wine and absorb all the flavor that we're cooking off the bottom of the pan. And it's going to make it taste amazing. Cioppino is still going, the base, which is awesome. And we're just going to turn this down a little bit, kind of get this down to a simmer as well, because we don't want either one of these to go crazy. Perfect. Nice simmer. Nice simmer. I think we're good. While we're waiting for all of this stuff here, this is actually going a little too low. I don't trust the temperature thermometer thing on this. It's not actually reading what I think it's supposed to be at. But I think we can work around it. Perfect. Gentle simmer. While I'm waiting for all of that, let's go ahead and... Oh, a little too high now, see? This one is the one that's going to be the problem child. I'll leave you a little low because I would rather have you low than high. I don't want things burning. I would rather have them simmering a little bit too low. Got our rice? We're just going to go ahead and add it in. Just like that. Good rule of thumb for risotto, 1 handful per person that you're going to be serving. I've only got 2 handfuls in here. Actually, I think I've got 3 handfuls in here. But you basically want 1 handful per person that you're cooking for. Yeah, you can use vermouth for a dry wine. It's a fortified wine though, so it's a little bit more complex, and it could actually throw off the flavors in a dry white wine or a dry wine dish, but it would work. We're going to go ahead and just stir the risotto in, and what's going to end up happening is you're going to notice that it's very, very quickly absorbing a lot of that white wine. See, we don't have very much sitting in the bottom of the pan anymore. It's mostly dry. The risotto just kind of soaked it all up. We're gonna let this sit. And I've got a pot of chicken stock over on a burner behind me that is warm. And what we're gonna be doing is ladling that in here and continuing to keep this kind of moving while this is reducing. I'm gonna go do that. Let me grab that. So what I'm gonna do to start, 2 ladles of the stock. I'm gonna put it right back on the burner. It's getting a little warm over here, so I'm gonna turn down the burner, which is great. And now I'm just gonna keep this going. And what's gonna happen is as the risotto cooks in the stock, it's gonna start releasing some of its starch, and this is gonna start thickening up and basically becoming like lava. It's gonna become super, super yummy. Very, very cool. Jesse, nobody. It's just me, unfortunately. I would love to have other people come over. However, shelter in place. So while we're waiting for all of this, we should get the crab going, or we should peel the shrimp. Let's do the shrimp first, because it's a pain in the ass. Do the hard stuff first, we'll do the crab second. Crab is actually really easy. So I've got all of the shrimp. Again, I got these guys pre-frozen. I'm not going to worry too much about the moisture here because I'm not going to be searing them. I don't care about the water that's on these guys. I just want to get the shells off. We're going to turn this down a little bit because it's getting a little bit too hot. And give it a stir. You basically want to come back to your risotto and stir it, I don't know, every couple minutes, just take a look at it. It takes a lot of attention, but it's actually not a difficult thing to make. These guys have already been split and cleaned, which is nice. All you have to do is kind of peel the skin off like this. You pop the skin back, grab the legs and peel, and they come right off. And then peel these guys down to the tail. And if you pinch on the tail like this, it comes right off and you get a full shrimp. I'm going to take this and put it right back into the little bowl I have, which is ice cold water. You do not want these sitting at room temperature for very long because shrimp can actually cook at room temperature. So again, just kind of peel back both sides of the skin, come down to the legs, and pinch the whole thing back. Roll everything kind of down towards the tail. Grab the very end of the tail and pinch, and it will push the rest of the shrimp out. That's how you get all of the shrimp out, and then if any like goober comes out, just scoop out the goo. Right back into the cold water. And I'm just going to get through these guys real quick because I got to stir my risotto here. Take your time with peeling shrimp and doing the crab and all of that. You will get speed the longer or the more you do it. You'll kind of figure out what your cadence is. You'll figure out what the process is, and then speed will come naturally. But if you're not used to peeling shrimp, don't worry about it. Take your time. Go kershwoop like this, and the shrimp comes off. I guess the shell comes off of the shrimp. The shrimp doesn't come off. This is just for ease of eating. You could leave the tails on. You know, you could leave the shells on if you wanted. If you wanted your guests to have to peel their shrimp. I'm lazy. Don't tell anybody. So I'm just going to peel the whole thing because then I can just eat the shrimp when I'm eating the cioppino. Cool. So we'll look at our risotto here, and it's getting a little bit dry. You'll notice that I'm starting to see kind of like little bubble holes like you will in a bowl of rice when it's getting towards the point where it's getting a little bit too, close to being cooked. I'm going to scrape all of this, stir it around, and it's time for another ladle of stock. We're going to come over here, grab our stock. And the reason that we're keeping our stock over on a different burner and keeping it warm is so that when we add it to the risotto, it's already hot. It doesn't have to warm up to simmer. It's already at a simmering temperature. So you're not cooling the risotto down and then bringing it back up to a boil. It's already going. And then I'm just going to stir this around. And you're just kind of loving on the risotto. Man, it's too bad I'm single because I I know how to love on things, let me tell you. All right, so we're going to switch back to this camera here. And we're going to do some more shrimp. What I'm going to do is do a close-up here, and I'll show you exactly how to peel a shrimp right up next to that phone camera. In case you have any questions about it. So cool, let's switch. Awesome. So we got our shrimp. Let me come over here. Got our shrimp. You're basically going to just peel one side of the skin this way, one side of the skin this way, and then you got your legs down here. See, I can actually kind of use both my fingers to keep the skin popped open. Other hand, come down to the legs, and just kind of peel them back. And then you're essentially done. You've just got the tail. So at this point, you just pinch down on the tail, and the shrimp pops right out. And then you've got your skin, your tail, your legs, everything is detached. You've got a nice skinless shrimp on this side. And then into the ice water. Perfect. And we can notice our risotto is thickening up a little bit. Come over here. And oh my god, my kitchen smells so good. Oof. I am going to be fat tonight. I am going to be eating very, very well. Something y'all can't see is that I'm also making another set of sourdough bread, so I've got that to look forward to. It's not going to be ready tonight, unfortunately, but it will be used to mop up some leftover cioppino tomorrow. Faux shizzle. Go ahead and dry off my cutting board here. Very good, very good. And find a dry spot here for my knife. Get you cleaned, we're good. Awesome. We don't need any of the celery anymore. Put our towel over there. And what's next? So the base with the cioppino, you can actually make this a day before. So if I were going to cheap out on y'all and not show you how to actually make it, I could totally just be like, oh, look at the base that we've made the day before. This is so easy. However, if you're having guests over and you don't want to do all of this production when you have guests over, it's nice to make this ahead of time. You can make it a day before, let it come back to room temperature, and then chill it in the fridge. Or you can actually put it into a bag, like a freezer bag, after you've let it cool to room temperature. Toss it in the freezer. You can store it for up to a month, and then just kind of reheat it, and it will gently come back to being nice and yummy. So we are running out of stock again in our risotto, and that's what we're paying attention to more right now than the cioppino. So I'm going to go ahead and grab my warm stock off of the stove. One more ladle. Fun fact, risotto was actually the first dish that I ever cooked that was not macaroni and cheese. So we'll just get that kind of stirred off. And the reason that you're stirring it is because otherwise the rice will actually stick to the bottom of the pan. So what you're trying to do is kind of keep it so that none of the rice is sticking to the bottom, which is what we're doing here, which is perfect. We're doing very well. I'm going to turn this guy down just a little bit, move my crab over here, and we're going to get him cleaned up. And I'm just going to leave this ajar. Awesome. So who has never cleaned a crab before? Or have all of y'all cleaned a crab? We're going to see if I remember how. This has been a while for me. But basically what you're going to do, this does get a little bit graphic, so I don't know, cover half of the video with cover this half of the video with some other window if you don't want to see gross crab stuff. But basically what you're going to do is you're going to find this piece right here, and you can actually push down on it, and it just kind of opens up. It's a little flap. It pops up like that, and it's got a couple of little feelers in here. You're literally just going to push this down and back, pop him off, and then you can literally just pop the entire top of the shell off. And I'm actually going to do this over my garbage bin because lots of stuff is going to come out. So you're going to pop the top of the shell off like this, and that's all of the lovely crab's insides. You got gills, you got all kinds of stuff inside here. You're just going to kind of scoop these out. Definitely not for the faint of heart. And then the front part, you're just going to kind of pop this off as well. A lot of cracking, a lot of terrible sounds. And then what you should definitely do is run this under a little bit of cool water to kind of rinse out the insides there. But if you can see, like, these are the two body pieces. These are the two body segments. It's actually pretty easy. At this point, you just crack them in half. You got two body segments, all of the legs and the claws, and then you can just crack them however you want. That's how easy it is to clean a crab. I'm going to get this refreshed with a little bit of stock after I kind of wipe my hands off. And this towel is now done. I've got a little bin in there. All of those go straight into the washing machine with some bleach. We've got no rice sticking. We'll get some more stock in here. Do. Chicken stock to the rescue. Now our risotto is getting pretty close to being done, so I'm going to turn this actually down a little bit and see if it doesn't... Why is this not as good as the other one? That's annoying. Ugh. In any case, we'll get this guy stirred so that none of this sticks. We'll let that simmer some more. The risotto is looking fantastic. All of the rice is getting opaque, so it's turning from kind of like a slightly translucent to full-on white. And this is basically, this is risotto. I mean, this is essentially how you make risotto. As that's absorbed, it just becomes super nice. I'm gonna give this a rinse. I'll be right back. As I come back, I'm gonna switch, and you can watch all of that lovely stuff happen. All right, good to go. Give this a nice little stir. You'll notice that the stock, well, maybe you can't see it on the camera, but the stock is getting really thick. Almost like a nice sauce, a pan sauce, really cool. Yum, yum, yum. I'm gonna go ahead and crack these guys in half. Nice and clean, good to go. Literally just gonna go like that and try some of my crab. Not bad for previously frozen, gotta say. And then for the legs, you're just gonna pop them out. Exactly how you would expect. You can just kind of like twist them and they pop right out of the body. Sometimes they need a little bit more coaxing. Oh, that's one of the claws. I'll put that over there. And I got a body. Same thing over here. I'll start with the claw. Pop you out. And a leg. And a leg. And a leg. I think crab is essential for a good cioppino. If I see a cioppino on the menu and it doesn't mention crab in the ingredients, I won't even order it, to be honest with you. Cioppino has got to have crab. Now, I am going to use this bad boy to very gently crack my crab, turn you down. So the really cool thing about making the risotto in a cast iron skillet is the cast iron holds its temperature, so it will actually keep the rice warm once it's done cooking. It's very recommended to get this like served immediately. However, if you're running a little bit behind, you can always just let it sit a little bit. And I'm just going to gently kind of turn these vertically like this, and then just kind of pop, and it is going to get a little bit messy. You can definitely cover it with a towel if you don't want things to fly all over the place. You're good. The bodies are already good. Let's do one of these guys. There we are, and back. Good. Awesome. You're going to need to be firm, but be gentler than you expect. Otherwise, you'll get a bunch of shell in your crab, which is not super pleasant. All right. Great. Oh no, man down. I guess I'll have to try some. Yum. Eating sounds added for effect. Cool. And I'm going to say this guy's done too, and grab a fresh towel. Oh my god, my kitchen smells so good. Awesome. You can definitely put a whitefish in here. Halibut works very well. I prefer scallops to halibut. Tilapia works. Any kind of whitefish actually works really well. Get these guys kind of popped open. And the reason that I'm popping them open is so that the cioppino sauce actually gets into the shell and into the meat and flavors it. Because otherwise, you will just have crab shells with sauce on them, and the meat inside will just be crab, like plain crab. Thanks, Janice. All right, let's take a look over here. Looking good. Risotto is looking good as well. I'm going to put the last of the stock in here, and then I'm going to give it a taste. Now, if you're making wild mushroom risotto, which was the original plan, at this point, you're going to clean your mushrooms or have them already cleaned, and you're going to add them on top and mix them in. And you're going to get them cooked just a little bit. Mushrooms don't take very much to cook. But basically, with the last ladle of stock, that's what you're going to do. You're going to put in your stock, you're going to put in your mushrooms, you're going to stir everything together, and that's going to bring everything together. And then at this point, you can taste your risotto. Al dente, which is perfect. And I got the no sodium chicken stock, so I need to add quite a bit of additional salt to flavor it, which is fine. Just make sure you stir it through, and stir through your salt while you still have stock. If you add it afterwards, it's just not going to taste the same. At this point, I'm also going to add these peas. I just got these frozen peas. And those will go throughout the rice as well. They'll cook. You just want to add all of that stuff at the end, after the rice is cooked. Very nice, very nice. All right, what are we waiting for? All right, sweet, sweet, sweet. How are we on time? We've been doing this for about an hour, so this guy here is... Where did my towel go? Oh, there it is. Okay, cool. Looking good, looking good. Oh my god, it smells so good. All right. Actually going to cover my risotto like that. Turn down the heat a little bit. over on this guy, I am going to add my clams. I've got my clams in my fridge. We're going to go ahead and get them in there like this. We're doing clams and mussels and crab and scallops. So very, very tasty, tasty cioppino. Give this a stir. At this point, I'm going to fish out my thyme. That's going to go straight in the garbage. Clams are in. We're going to cover this for 5 minutes. Oop. Slightly ajar, like very slightly ajar. Cool, cool. And we're done with that. With our risotto, we're actually going to add a little bit of mascarpone, whatever you want to call it. This is a cheese, very creamy cheese, and just kind of elevates the risotto. I'm just gonna, let's use something clean. Like this spoon. And about a tablespoon. Something like that. Turn up the heat just a bit. Get this covered and back in the fridge. Awesome. I'll worry about organizing my fridge later. And I'm just going to take this and stir it in, and you'll notice that it's making everything nice and creamy. Just melts right into the rice and the peas and the risotto. Ooh, baby. That looks amazing. At this point, I'm also going to, once again, taste my risotto for flavor. Make sure that it's seasoned properly. Where did I just put my spoon? Right here. Oh, yes. Oh yes. That's what you want. Double dipping. Yeah. A little bit more black pepper. I'm going to add just a touch more salt. But otherwise, this is fantastic risotto. Super creamy, super yummy. You'll notice that it just kind of like falls off of the spoon, which is what you want. You want it to kind of cascade like that. You don't want it to be gloopy. The rice is nice and tender and awesome. Take a look. I think our clams are good. Take this lid off for now. Now the crab goes in. You're just gonna submerge it. If it breaks apart, it breaks apart. You're gonna take all those bits that you've just cracked open, make sure that they're cracked open enough, and toss them right into the steaming broth. Sorry, Mr. Crab, however, your sacrifice has not gone to waste. And I'm sure you will taste amazing. So as I'm putting the pieces in, I am just double checking to make sure that they are cracked properly. Bodies go in. I'm going to give this a quick stir to get these guys kind of towards the bottom of the bowl. Get everything nice and submerged in this wonderful broth. Now you can also make the seafood stock by yourself if you want. Take the seafood, if you have any leftover fish bones or anything like that, you can make the seafood stock from scratch. I didn't go that route this time. I could have. I decided against it. Cool. We're gonna let that simmer for another minute or so. And our risotto is pretty much done. I'm just keeping it on warm. This all nice and stirred and pushed together. And I can see my bay leaf, so I'm actually going to pull that out as well. You don't want to scoop him. Not super yummy to put on a plate. Hey, Cam. Hey, you big owl. What's up, man? Hey, Aunt Debbie. How's it going? I don't have any sourdough toast, Cindy. I have sourdough proofing right now. I'm going to be cooking it tomorrow. But I don't have anything ready to go at the moment. So no sourdough tips. However, that will be for leftovers tomorrow. I'm very excited about that. We're going to add our mussels. And get those guys kind of stuffed in. I'm going to take my scallops, all the juices and everything. Those are going to go in. And then the very last thing I'm putting into this pot is going to be the shrimp, because those cook super, super quick. And really all I'm doing at this point is just trying to get everything submerged. There we go. The shrimp can go right on top. And then we're going to cover this. And they're going to cook just kind of by steaming. Risotto's done. Let me grab a big spoon. Like this is a big spoon. Perfect. Thanks, Matt. Hey, Michaela. Have a great night. Thanks for joining. Thank you, Jeremy. So this is still simmering. It's all doing very well. We're going to grab our shrimp. I'm just going to scoop it up out of the bowl here. Just kind of let it drain. I know you can't see it on the screen, but I'm just letting the water drain off of it. And it's going to go over into the pot. You'll notice that they're gray. As soon as you dip them into the broth, yes, the broth is red, I understand that, but they're going to cook within a minute or two. Give this another really nice stir. Get all of these guys incorporated. The mussels are opening, which is fantastic. The clams are opening, which is also fantastic. And there we go. Well, you guys play together in the broth. Grab our lid, cover it, let those guys steam and open. All right, let's grab a bowl here. I don't have any very... Whoa! I don't have any very nice bowls in there, so I'm just going to use a nice plate that kind of looks like a bowl. And we're going to pretend that this is a nice bowl. We got our plate. We're going to start plating our risotto and get it ready for the cioppino. Thanks everybody for voting. I decided to do both of these together because it is a little bit complicated, yet it's not impossible. And I want to show you that it's actually pretty easy to get a couple of dishes put together at the same time. And we kind of came up with something unique where we're doing, you know, a cioppino risotto, which isn't something that you see all the time. Risotto is still nice and liquidy and magma-y. Go ahead and plate that up. Now, one thing you could do, if you wanted to, is you could take some of the broth from the cioppino and stir it. Actually, you know what? That's what I'm going to do. Please wait while we have a technical difficulty, which isn't really a technical difficulty. Oh yeah, there we go. Mm-hmm. Let's do this. I'm gonna come in here and grab some of this cioppino broth. It's gonna go into the risotto. We're gonna turn the heat up. And we're gonna let this absorb some of this. And that looks amazing. Doggo is under my feet because he smells all the yumminess. Go ahead and get all of this stirred. Oh yes. Guys, I'm actually jealous for you. I'm legitimately envious for you because I can understand how it must feel seeing all of this on the other side of the camera. And I would love to have you all over. Unfortunately, I can't. Let me get all of this stirred in. We got a yummy seafood risotto here. Taste that now. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. All right. Chef thing, we'll wipe off the plate. Make it look somewhat presentable. Now, we'll scoop this on. So, what I'm going to do is put the risotto a little bit off center. Turn that down. There we are. And do I have... Grab a couple of mussels here. Oop, that guy came out. At this point, you're just having fun, trying to make the plate look interesting. Crab leg over there. Crab leg right there. Let's see if I can find one of those bodies. Here we go. This body right there. Grab some of these shrimp on top. This one. And that clam didn't open. Here's a scallop. I think I would be better off with a bigger pot. However, this looks incredible. This clam. My clams are on the bottom, I think. Let's see. You opened up. And there we go. This is probably one of the messiest plates I've put together in a while. However, I know it's going to taste amazing. Sorry, Julie. But here we go. Lovely plate of Cioppino risotto. Done. Super hot. Super tasty looking. I think I'm going to dig in. Before I dig in, since I forgot to last week, I'm going to take a... actually going to switch cameras and then take a picture before I take a bite. Because last week I totally forgot to. And I had to go through my phone and find an older photo. And I don't have any photos of this because I've never made it before. So not bad for a first attempt, I don't think. Portrait mode, there we go, and... perfect. Got him. Now it's time to taste. I don't think I need a knife for this. I'm just going to be using a fork. Start with a scallop. Oh yeah. This is this is yummy. Oh. Jeremy, if you know somebody at NordVPN that wants to sponsor me, get them in touch. Shrimp is perfect. Well seasoned. Let's try a clam. Oh yeah. Guys, I'm gonna have a really good weekend. I'm gonna have a really good weekend eating the rest of this cioppino. Oh yeah, mussels are delicious. Honestly, for stuff that's been previously frozen, this is really not bad. A little bit more of the risotto. Oh yeah. Now, admittedly, the risotto is not going to be as good tomorrow as it is right now. So, unfortunately, I'm going to have to deal with that. But first world problems. I mean, this is delicious. I can get you off. Actually going to turn you off as well. Cover you for now. Let's get into some of this crab. Now that I know how to make cioppino, there's not going to be any crab left at Safeway when I go. I'm just going to buy it all. This is the way to eat crab, in my opinion. I love cioppino. I highly recommend you give this a try. I know I probably made it look a lot more difficult than it actually is. But it's so worth it. Making 2 dishes, we've been at this for an hour and 20 minutes, and most of that was just coordinating between the 2 dishes. You could put the cioppino together in 45 minutes to an hour, and you've got a dinner for 6 people, 8 people. You could just make a pot of white rice or maybe some pasta, pair it with the cioppino, get a little bit more of the sauce on top. You can actually let this simmer a little bit longer, let the sauce thicken up a bit, and it's just incredible. That's usually how we have it at my mom's house. We'll have pasta on the side, a little bit of buttered pasta. We'll put the cioppino on top of the pasta and, you know, dress it with the sauce, and it's just fantastic. Also, the 20 minutes, the hour and 20 minutes included the eating, the plating, the tasting, and everything. So you could probably put this together in 45 minutes, no problem, if all you were doing was the cioppino. You could do the risotto in 25 minutes. I know a lot of people are like, oh, it's a 40-minute job. It kind of isn't. You can do it a lot quicker. But this is just fantastic. I really wish y'all were here. Cindy, nothing is raw. Exactly, Jeremy, exactly. So, everybody, I hope you all have a fantastic weekend. I really, really think you should give this a try. I'm having a ball putting these cook-alongs together. I hope you guys are enjoying them. Thank you so much for voting on which dish I should have done tonight. I felt bad about saying we were going to do risotto and then switching it to the cioppino, which is why I put it to a vote. And then I still felt bad, so I figured I'd just do them both because, man, you can time it. As long as you just plan a little bit in advance and say, hey, you know what, this is going to be the longer one, so I'll get this started first. I know that there's going to be a period of waiting while I'm waiting for it to simmer, and I can make the risotto in between there. As long as you do a little bit of planning, it's really not that difficult to get a couple of really like gourmet dishes that aren't that hard to put together. They're really, really easy. It's just time. It's just letting them simmer and boil. And drinking the wine you cooked with is the best way to pair a wine with a meal, in my humble opinion. Anyway, guys, if you have any suggestions for what I should cook next, simple, difficult, I don't want to do anything like bread, because bread, I've been doing the sourdough all day, and there's no way that I can live stream that. Nobody would even watch it. I might put that together in like a video series. That's kind of a better format for that. But anything that you think I could be cooked in like maybe an hour, hour and a half, something that might be a couple of things that, you know, could take a little bit longer, but where I'm actually able to engage with you while I'm doing it. It's really boring to mix a bunch of dough together, put it into a warm oven, and then just stand here for 3 hours while I wait for it to rise. Not the most entertaining content in the world. If you want to see that, by all means, I'll put it together. That's not something I would watch, and I really doubt that that's something any of you would want to watch. But yeah, if you guys have any suggestions, by all means, I can definitely do flambe. Bananas Foster. Gordon Ramsay does a hot bananas Foster where he chops chilies into the bananas and uses some brandy and lights that on fire. I've done that for Christmas before. Fantastic dish. Tastes super good. And truffles mac and cheese. Again, the mac and cheese is kind of one of those things where you have to put it into the oven and let it kind of sit in the oven. So I need something to go along with it while I'm waiting for it to cook. I know it only bakes for 25 minutes, 30 minutes. But if we could think of like a truffle mac and cheese and something, that would be ideal. Curry would be nice, Rachel. I could do a curry. The problem with the curry is a lot of that is just making the paste. Once you make the paste, it takes like 3 minutes to put it together. We could definitely do a Zoom chat with beer. You know what I would really like to get? I would really like to get a bunch of y'all, maybe into a Zoom or whatever, figure out some way to do it, where some people are cooking with me, so that it's not just me, but maybe there's like 2 or 3 people maybe on this side over here, and we can just watch everybody cook, and we can see what I do, and we can see what they do. And I think that would be a lot of fun. If you are interested in that, we can see if we can figure out how to get that to work. We might even be able to figure out how to make it so that we can actually switch screens so that, you know, certain people are full screen at certain times depending on what they're doing. I think that would be a lot of fun. Chili rellenos, that would be a good one. Dumplings are also fun. But yeah, great suggestions, guys. I have another friend, Cameron Jobdani, really good friend of mine from elementary school. Actually, I think before elementary school. He wants me to do salmon. He's got a bunch of other dishes as well. And once the weather gets a little bit warmer, I'm going to figure out how to get this all outside so I can do some grilling for you, because I think that would be a good time as well. Grab a beer, go out on the patio, see the garden, do all kinds of stuff like that. Yeah, with chili verde. Could definitely do that. Anyway, everybody, I'm out for the evening. I'm going to enjoy maybe all of the cioppino that I just made, but probably not. I'll probably pace myself, put some in the fridge, eat some tomorrow with the fresh sourdough bread that I'm baking right now. And I'll see you next Friday for whatever it is I come up with. Maybe it'll be one of your suggestions. We'll see. Maybe I'll put it up to a vote again before I even announce what I'm making. Anyway, thanks again for watching. It's been a fantastic time. It always is. Thank you for joining me, and I will see you all next week. Au revoir.